Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
I've got cats in my neighborhood that wander through my yard from time to time. There's at least two, maybe three. And I've mentioned before that I had a cat growing up as a little kid. My parents' family got a cat. I think I was about 3 years old, and that cat made it to 16. So my entire life, that cat was a constant in my life until I was an adult. And very, very fond memories and feelings towards that cat. But he was an outdoor cat, and there's a debate about this. And if I had a cat now, I don't think I'd let the cat outdoors, because one of the cats in the neighborhood, I was riding my bike one day and I saw it get hit by a car. And that can happen. And also, there are other animals out there that cats can tangle with. Bad things can happen to them. So, interestingly, though, there's a cat out of Bellevue, Washington, that's made the news. KIRO 7 news staff wrote the story. Caleb and Barbara both sent it to me. A cat named Miska, M-I-S-K-A, Miska. He's the notorious Bellevue cat, and the owner has won a settlement of $125,000 because of the cat and the controversy surrounding the cat. The cat is referred to here as a notorious cat in Bellevue, named Miska, has won a $125,000 settlement from Bellevue and King County. This is following a 3-year legal battle, involving the cat. The litigation stemmed from $30,000 in fines and more than 30 violations which were issued to the cat's owner. So the owner of the cat was hit with, it says here, about $30,000 in fines and more than 30 violations for the cat's alleged behavior. This dates back to 2014, so this is a long-running case. Regional Animal Services of King County, contracted by the city of Bellevue, issued violations for claims that Miska trespassed, taunted other pets, and committed other infractions. So here's the thing. Some cities actually have laws on the books that say that if you have a pet, the pet must be licensed and you can't let it run free. And so most people take that as the case for a dog, and many people just throw it out the window with a cat. And if you look at your local ordinances, you might be surprised to see that your cat should have a license, especially if it's outdoors, and should not be roaming free. So what happens is, in a city where they decide to start enforcing this, people who've got outdoor cats go, that's crazy. I let the cat out, the cat comes back. What's the difference? Now, I remember when I had my paper route, there were people who let their dogs out, and the dog would run around and come back. And I remember a couple of neighborhoods that had dogs, and there'd just be some dog running around. Now, I was delivering papers in the morning, like 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, and back in some neighborhoods that were several blocks away from a busy road, it wasn't that dangerous. But I remember the first couple of times I get startled because a dog comes running up, and and you recognize the dog. It's fine. The dog gets to know you. But of course, that was against the law at that time for them to let their dog run loose like that. And I remember actually finding out who owned the dog and seeing them do it. And they literally opened the door up. The dog would just go out and run around for a while, and the dog would come back. They'd let the dog back in. So dating back to 2014, Regional Animal Services of King County contracted with the city of Bellevue, and they issued violations, among others saying that the cat taunted other pets. So apparently there's a list of things that a cat can't do, and it cannot taunt another pet. Meanwhile, the attorney for the owner of the cat said in October of 2020, Miska is the most prosecuted cat in King County and in the city of Bellevue. I hope so. With 30 violations and $30,000 in fines, I'd hate to think somebody got fined more than that. In response to all of this, the owner of the cat filed a lawsuit alleging government overreach and pointing out that her neighbor is an animal control manager and may have been involved in many of the complaints. So the woman who owns the cat says the only reason this is happening to me is I've got a neighbor who works in animal control who's been narking me out. Now, her attorney also believes the violations should be voided because the city of Bellevue did not properly update its domestic cat code. There should be a domestic cat code. The two-man legal team for the cat owner sought reimbursement for costs incurred and brought civil rights claims against King County, the city of Bellevue, and other government entities and officials. In addition to the $125,000 settlement, the lawsuit spurred a court order that resulted in changes to Bellevue's city code and the way that civil offenses involving animals are heard. So it sounds like they streamlined their process or fixed their process or cleaned their process up somehow in response to this. But the fact that they're paying this woman $125,000 after claiming she owed them $30,000 would suggest that perhaps there were some equities in her favor, as we say. And every now and then, and I'm not saying this is the case here, I'm just saying I see some parallels. Every now and then you hear a story about somebody who's getting hit over and over and over and over again with some particular violation. And you look at it and you go, why doesn't this person learn a lesson? But then you look at what they're being violated for and you go, but wait a second, doesn't everybody do that? And then you discover that it's happening because there's one person complaining and it's a neighbor, or it's somebody who drives by there or something. And it's often with the nitpicky things like, you got to have your garbage cans in by sundown on the day your garbage gets picked up. And you left the can out, and the next morning somebody goes by and says, hey, their garbage can's out. That's a violation. And if it happens one time, is that the end of the world? If it happens repeatedly, is that the end of the world? And so that's what looks like may have happened here. It's certainly what they were alleging. And that is that if this neighbor who works for animal control didn't live nearby, there wouldn't have been 30 violations and $30,000 in fines. I suspect that the settlement agreement says that they don't admit anything was done wrong. They're just paying the $125,000 to settle the dispute that they have between these different entities and the owner of Miska, the cat. So I'm curious about the name Miska, if it means anything. It might in another language. I've known people who've named their animals very, very creative names. If you watch the credits at the end of my videos, you know that I have Milo and Wolfie, I mentioned, two Shetland sheepdogs that I had for quite a while, but they both passed away. And of course, Milo, I used to jokingly call him Milos. I'm a big admirer of the movie Amadeus, and Milos Forman directed it. And of course, the movie's about Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, and Wolfie, of course, is the other dog. Wolfgang was his full name. So Milos and Wolfgang, or Milo and Wolfie. There you go. That's a secret. I'm not sure if I've ever told you that before, but that's just between you and me. So there you go. Caleb and Barbara, thanks for sending the story from KIRO7. The owner of Miska, the notorious Bellevue cat, wins a $125,000 settlement after being told she owes them $30,000. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. What do you think they do for excitement in this town? Probably sit around and watch the cars rust.